Hey, what's up, guys? Are we live? Sorry, I'm getting this. This is brand new for me. I'm doing it by myself. I'm Randall. We're doing a Claude Code overview today. Thanks for joining us. If you're not watching on contexteng.ai, that's where we're trying to do stuff. That's why I was sitting there in deep thought because I wasn't paying attention, trying to see the video show. So I'm Randall. Let me give you. I actually have. We're going to interact in a couple different ways. Let me bring up the good old fashioned. Sorry, this is here. All right, we're gonna go through a bunch of stuff today. Let me bring up our good old friend Figma really quick. Over to here. We're gonna talk about Claude Code from scratch today. So this is not just for experts or for beginners. This is sort of like a end-to-end look, and this is a prototype of a workshop that I'm going to be giving to a lot of other people. So there's going to be a bunch of this will be happening a few different times. Hopefully after this it'll be a paid thing. We'll see. So I'm trying to make sure that we're live on my own site really quick. Normally we do this with other people. There we go, live chat. All right, mute. Cool. Okay, so if you're watching live, I can see your comments probably. We're using StreamYard. We'll see if that works. Live chat on Substack, and let's do this. All right, so just quick background. Oh, you're going to see like slides that are half done because this is a work in progress, but that's fine. All right, so quick background on me. I'm Randall. I'm a journalist turned hacker. Let me switch this to be big. All right, so I'm Randall. I'm a software engineer. I used to work as a journalist the first half of my career, and then I moved into product engineering, all this stuff. I'm a software engineer at my heart, and I've been using Claude Code to run everything. We're going to get some tooling setup stuff out of the way just to be. Can I move my little guy over? I'll deal with that later. We're going to get some tooling set up. If you're going to use this, we're going to use a couple different pieces. Replit, if you don't know Replit, it's the best way to get a dev environment set up, replit.com. We're going to be doing live streams on Substack, and yeah, let's just go. We'll see what we got. We're going to be using a few tools you probably never heard of, like Dino. I normally use Ghost TTY. We'll see how that goes. All right, so let's jump in. If you haven't coded, if you haven't changed how you're coding this year, everything's drastically different nowadays. So previous to now, you could just do what's kind of classic coding, right? We had like in the 1940s, we had card punching. Then we had these higher level languages. Sorry that you're seeing demo text. 2008, sort of this like Stack Overflow era where you can Google stuff. 2023, you have GitHub Copilot and other things. And then March 2025 is the time when agentic coding has started. The weirdest part about agentic coding is that in order to do it correctly, you have to be a good thinker. And in order to think, you have to write effectively. And the inverse is also true. To write effectively, you have to think well. Why do we say this? Like LLMs at a super high 50,000 foot view, they're autocomplete, right? It's just like hitting the middle button on autocomplete. I'm just going to skip all this. We'll just go. All right, so the biggest change of the switch from kind of non-agentic workflows to agentic workflows is that everyone is now a tech lead. So if you've worked in big tech, there's this like term called tech lead. A tech lead is more than just an engineer. They're responsible for helping lots of people accomplish a goal, right? And they sort of unify everyone together across engineering and product and analytics and all these other places. I did this at Facebook. My team is actually, originally it was like 6 or 7 people. And then my team got cut down to the bare bones after some layoffs. And so it became just me. The cool thing is about these layoffs is that like, because they were doing layoffs, there was all these people who had joined who didn't have teams. So I had 20 different boot campers, they're called. They like were just new grads who didn't have teams. I had 20 different people working on my team. And you can imagine that like none of them actually reported to me. None of them were my employees. None of them, like I wasn't going to give them any performance reviews or anything. They were just people that wanted to work on my projects. And the funny part about that was like managing those people was less about computer science and it was entirely about communication theory. As I mentioned at the top, because my background's like super kind of crazy town. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Back to me. There we go. Because my background's kind of crazy and weird, and I'm this like journalist turned hacker guy who does more than just code. Uh, the stuff that I was doing that really drove. Sorry, I have to fix this because I'm doing it wrong. There we go. There we go. Cool. So the stuff that really drove my results at Facebook had nothing to do with computer science, and they were everything to do with my experience as a journalist and as a communicator. Um, the funny thing is that like for all 20 engineers, I actually took our roadmap and I divided it into pods. So we had a pod of people who were working on like publicly facing stuff. We had a pod of people who were working on infrastructure. We had a pod of people who were working on like this random video project that I just wanted to get done. We had a bunch of people working on all these different things. And so rather than go in front of everyone and tell everyone what we were doing, what I would do is I would have 3 different stand-ups. Each stand-up was about 15 or 30 minutes. And so from 11 a.m. till about 1 p.m. Eastern, because my teams were distributed between the East and the West Coast, and in London in some cases, I would actually have these like stand-ups where I would spend half an hour and I would talk to each pod about what they wanted to do. And some of them wanted to do like data science stuff, and some of them wanted to do JavaScript and whatever. And so my goal was to give them context, and none of them knew anything about what it was like to work at Facebook, to be clear. None of them had done any actual Facebook engineering. So what I was doing the entire time was I was just spending all my time trying to help these people understand their next day. Like, what were they going to do for the next 24 hours? If you haven't set up your tooling, go set up your tooling. Replit. Go get Replit. This is going to be a little bit rough. Thank you for your patience. So the funny thing about my time at Facebook Bootcamp was it's exactly the same as working with LLMs. All of working with LLMs is about context windows and giving it the right amount of context. Even as the models get smarter, my take is that they're more likely to get good at completing tasks. They're not necessarily going to get better at thinking independently on their own, right? So like those are subtly different things. But like if you ask it to do a task, it will be more likely to complete it correctly. It will be less likely to pick out the task that it should do from a gigantic list. All right, so we'll talk about some of this stuff in a sec. Okay, let's get your tooling. It's not set up. We're using Replit. You can go fork it right now. I'm going to show you my Replit setup. It's super simple. I have Dino and Node.js. And let's actually install Claude Code because it's actually really easy to do this. It's like not super hard. So you just do npx at anthropic-ai/Claude-code. This is super tiny. Sorry, my bad. Show this bigger, and let's make this like 100 million% bigger. There we go. All right, we're going to close this last game. Great. So this is the first step to installing this thing. So npx anthropic AI Claude Code. And this will just ask you, like, do you want to install this? Package 1.0.51. So this is like today's or yesterday's release. It's actually really important to note that like Claude Code releases like every single day or about every single day. So it's reasonable that like every time you run Claude Code, it could have a new release. And so like I'm used to versioning dependencies and kind of being slow, but it's actually to your advantage to not be slow. Okay, so there's 2 different modes that you can use to set up a Claude Code. You can have an account, or you can use a API request thing. I highly encourage you to use the account with subscription. The $20 per month will get you Sonnet, which is the like good, okay, faster model. Opus is the slower, better thinking model. I tend to use Opus for all code tasks, and then I tend to use Sonnet for all writing tasks. Not necessarily, like it's changed actually a little bit, but that's kind of how my mental model is. So we're just going to log in really quick. Hopefully you don't see anything secret. Let's find out. Because I'm on Replit, I got to do this in a weird way. If you're following along at home on Replit, you have to log in using this like weird thing. So, whoops, that's the wrong one. Old Standard doesn't have access yet. One more time. Clickaroo. authorize, copy, paste. Great. So now we're logged in. Cool. And when you're presented with Claude, whoops, I just exited because I'm pushing buttons too quickly. Sorry. The good news is that I'm still logged in. All right, we trust this folder. Most people will jump straight to /init to like set up their Claude code. I actually like don't do that, and I'm not sure if you should do. I don't know which way is better. I like to actually just like feel my way through the code base and then start to like add things to Claude.md myself. Claude.md is the instructions that will be sent with every request. So you can think of it like a way to tell it if you have specific weird stuff. For instance, I like to use Deno because I prefer it more than Node.js. I also like to use Sapling instead of Git. Those are really weird technology choices. And LLMs are trained on, all this data. They're not going to be trained on the stuff that I like, just frankly. They're not. It's not going to be like a thing they care about. So Claude MD will help you sort of say, okay, I do this weird thing. You should like pay attention. Like I'm going to do this weird thing, just so you know. So like in my Claude MD in my like real project, you can go see that actually. I'll just probably reference this a bunch. Just go to GitHub. /Old Foundry. Cool. So in my Claude MD, I actually symlink it to agents.md because I think it's messed up that Claude gets to have its own thing. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So my Claude.md, it's a little bit shitty actually because I ported it. It doesn't matter. The main thing I do is I try to point it towards like things it needs to know. We'll talk about memos in just a sec. And then I try to like give it structure stuff. This is actually a really, really bad example of a Claude.md. I need to update this and try to do it. Okay, so over in our world, we're going to get started with Claude Code in just a sec. If you don't have it, go get it. npx install or npx Anthropic Claude Code. Links at the top. All right, so let's just like this is the hello world setup, right? You should be able to talk to it and be like, "Hey, what's your story?" And it'll say something back to you. Great. All right. So we're gonna build out a project. It's called Fast Pitch AI. We're doing this from scratch. We actually already have a version of this that's live. If you go to getfastpitch.com, so like this is a demo app that we're using for our product, and it actually does work, even though it's wackadoo. Yeah, if you want to not subscribe to this, like this is going to be like our demo project, and we'll go through it and we'll talk about how to do stuff and whatever. The goal of Fast Pitch is to go find the best 5 stories every week and send them out to your text, to your phone. So that if you live in San Francisco, this is such a pejorative, but if you live in San Francisco, you can go to whatever the new version of the Creamery is. You can go to some meetup or something. You can tell them, oh my gosh, I heard Grok, blah, blah, blah. And you can have like, without having to pay attention to all AI news, you can have things to talk about. That's like, it started out as sports, now it's AI, whatever. Okay, so that's going to be the project that we're going to build out. It's not going to be, oh my gosh, seriously? It's not going to be a thing that's like perfect, but we're just going to use that as sort of like our go-to and show you how to build things from scratch. Okay, so back to presentation. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about that's like super, super important. I got to fix this text, but we'll just leave it for now. All right, so that's funny. Keep context for your coders. So calls the memo pattern. You'll see in the Bull Foundry code base, if you go look, I'm just going to refer to that a lot because it's like my mature code base. I actually put this in my Claude.md that I have this concept called memos. So the idea is that like memos typically are dated. So there's guides and plans. Every directory inside of our monorepo has a folder called memos. And the parent folder of memos is about like, this is all the things we're working on. Actually, I just updated this like this weekend, I think. So this is like classic jobs to be done, like work. I'm gonna make this way bigger because that's a better idea. Cool. So this is like classic product roadmap stuff. And I keep this in my repo on purpose so that Claude, if I need to give Claude context around like business logic or business stuff that I'm working on, it's here, right? So in my memos, I have this guides folder, which is meant to be sort of like, these are the way we think today. We don't have case studies. That's why I was confused. But like, this is my documentation philosophy, which is also out of date. The thing that you'll know with Claude that's funny is like, there's this joke we used to have at Facebook that like all the internal software they use at Facebook is either in alpha or deprecated. There's like nothing in production. And that's just how your repo is going to be with Claude Code, because it's just like working at a big tech company. Like, you're going to have a lot of stuff where you're like, oh, that's actually like needs to get updated. And we have ways of dealing with this. Yeah, so like 18 hours ago, I updated the status thing to be more accurate and whatever, but it's not whatever. Let's not focus on guides. Let's focus on plans. Plans are the thing that I think is most important. People will talk about plan mode or like Cursor has a plan mode. There's like a bunch of different software that has like these plan modes and stuff. I actually don't like to use the tooling first plan modes, because I think that they suffer from a couple of issues. Number one is that like, if you're doing a plan mode in the software, like, you're going to have context that's like specific to whatever you were talking about right before, right? So like, if you were talking about like, I don't know, if you're coming up with ideas to how to do something, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, we need to plan something out, like it'll like intermingle anything you talked about before with the plan you're coming up with. So I really, really like to have these more explicit like plans that I come up with, and you can actually just like ask Claude to do them. I'm pretty sure that Claude knows how I like my plans somehow. I don't actually know how, but it probably does. So this is like the product plan for what we're doing for the next 6 months. Like right now, I actually just finished all of this. I think I'm about to finish this today. Actually, I think I have a pull request out for that right now. Oh, no, I don't. It's okay. So, but yeah, like all this context helps, because this is just the same way that like business context for engineers helps, right? Some people will be like, oh, like you should keep your business separate from your engineering and like whatever. I just think it's bullshit. Like, you should just give all the context you can as far as you can, as appropriate as it is. Like, you don't want to have like tons of customer facing stuff, because you don't want to be like, we're working with this customer who has these like internal whatever, like that's obviously sketchy. But as far as like just general context, like throwing huge, like putting the information next to your assistant means that they're going to be able to find it quickly. And the best way to do that is not MCP. The best way to do that is just the file system. So just have the file system with all your stuff that your AI will need to know. Right. So that's our concept of memos. There's this quote from Star Trek, because I'm a Star Trek nerd. Context is for kings. They talk about it. They say like universal laws are for lackeys. Context is for kings. You have to keep context, and you have to sort of like manage the context over. I'll say this over and over and over. You have to manage the context of your assistant for it to be effective. Memos and monorepos keep you in control of your context, and then you don't have to rely on just like the conversation going correctly, right? You can decide, this is the information that I want my AI to have. You can code review that information, which is extremely important, which we'll definitely do. And you can like kind of guide it more effectively. All right, so I already mentioned this. Fractal folders. So like I mentioned that like we have like the parent one. So the project that I'm working on right now is boltfoundry.com. It's like we're like redoing it anyway, because of course I'm redoing it. So there's memos, plans, and then like we're doing this thing right now that's the reinforcement learning data pipeline project. So Bolt Foundry is a tool that helps people take actual user feedback and implement it into their prompts using evals and other tooling. Right now, we don't have a customer-facing SaaS product. We only have this like internal. Well, it's not internal. We have a tool. It's command line. It's shitty, but it does something. So what I'm working on right now is like updating our pipeline for this. And so I essentially have like a 4-phase. Like this is like the process that I went through. And I said like, we're going to start with this thing. We're going to collect samples. Then our AI is going to do this, etc. right? And then I started actually writing out the data model. So I'm so extra. I wrote my own database like 3 years ago because of course I did. So it's a graph database because I work at Facebook and I like graph databases a lot. So this is the data model that I was creating. So BF is like internal data. So BF organization. Anyway, this is the data model that we came up with. And then I sort of explained like, okay, what each data model is going to do, etc. Right? And then I have it go and I like have it analyze how things work. So it's going to grab all the context about how it should work. And this actually had a funny side effect, which I'll just say quickly. I said TDD required. So it actually did like unit test TDD on stuff that like, it would like test the framework for each model. So it would be like, does this model create? And it's like, I don't need to unit test that, but like, thanks. So yeah, like whatever you write, it's like Ron Burgundy. It'll just like take literally. Okay, this is the front end integration package. This is like a thing. Anyway, this is like the file structure, blah, 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 blah. So this is like a whole huge thing. And I didn't write like any of this, right? Like I had the LLM write a lot of this stuff, and then I went through it with the LLM. So it has like these different phases and whatever. I guess I've now hit the point where GitHub no longer wants to render Markdown or something. I don't even know why. There's a syntax error in the Markdown backtick thing or whatever. Oh, it's missing a backtick there. Anyway. The point is that this is all the context that I use to implement stuff. So, okay. In our case, we use docs for users and memos are for internal developers. So every folder has a docs folder and they can have a blog, which is like not necessarily a blog, but like in our case, it is literally a blog, but it's like timely updates, things that are, maybe we'll rename updates. I don't know. But the idea is that like if you have like a change log or release or something, it would go in blog, and then guides or evergreen stuff. So like this is like us explaining how the bolt foundry text system works and all this other stuff. Oh shit, it's so out of date. Oh my gosh, we don't even use JavaScript anymore, and these are the wrong words to use. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. Anyway, everything is deprecated or in alpha. I'm gonna say that a million times today. Okay. Cool. So that fractal folder structure applies to the entire monorepo. Anywhere you're at in the monorepo, the AI can get context from a user's perspective or from an internal developer's perspective. And by co-locating it, you save the LLM like having to go across apps, MCP boundaries, like all that stuff. I think MCP just like is such overkill in like 99% of cases. You should use MCP for end users, but never for developing. I think that MCP is a great thing if you're like, oh, I have Notion and I have all these things and I want to like organize my calendar. I'm going to cross-reference it with Notion or whatever. Like, and I want to use Claude or I want to use ChatGPT or whatever. But like on the developer side, I think MCP is like a super anti-pattern because you're just introducing all these protocol boundaries that like don't need to be there. You can just have files. Like you don't need to do anything special. The reason why like I love to have all of this context is because they will figure out like the variability of how much they'll figure out correctly the first time depends on how well you write, but also how smart the model is. And how well you write is never going to go away. Like how effective the things you write are will never like ever, you'll always have to be able to write effectively, right? So like even if models get super, super smart and they're the smartest thing in the world, if you can't talk to them effectively, if you can't like, tell them what you want, like if you've ever worked with clients, like I used to be a graphic designer like a whole lifetime ago, and they'll be like, this doesn't pop. And you're just like, what the fuck does pop mean? Sorry, I live in New York. I tend to swear. I feel like I'm live on Facebook and no one knows that. Am I live? Thank goodness I'm only live on LinkedIn and not Facebook. Okay. By the way, I haven't seen a single comment. If you want to like do a quick comment or shout out or something, please like do, because I know we have viewers, but I don't know if anyone can hear me or see me. All right. That aside, thank you. Someone just hearted me on Substack, which is exactly what I needed to know. Okay, so you spend 30 minutes up front writing a good memo, you will actually build the thing you intend. If you spend 0 time up front, guess what? you will spend so much time debugging and so much time going down rabbit holes, and it's the worst. And let me be clear, like, I don't think I put this in the presentation, but there's this concept that I've heard other people use that I hadn't used until recently called spikes. The idea is you just like vibe code something, and when you vibe code it, you like YOLO, like you don't actually care what it does. It's just like whatever, it's happening. Um, I'll like vibe code stuff to get an idea of like what it should do, and then once it's good, I'll actually go implement it in my actual software. So like in practice, what that looks like for me is like I actually use, I don't have Replit agent turned on this one, but what that looks like in practice for me is like I'll go in Replit and I'll just use Replit agent before I do anything Claude Code, because Replit agent's like really, really good. So let me just like, I'll just make another app really quick. So I'll be like, we're gonna build a project to help people get brief updates on AI from various news sources. Our goal is to send out a weekly text message, and it should give them 5 stories back. Cool. So this is sort of like my vibe code, non-production code, just like YOLO, like let's make it happen. And we'll see like how many times it's gonna like figure out a couple things and it's just gonna go. I'm not even gonna like focus on tech stack or like I don't care about anything. I just wanted to just like go. The cool thing about Replit is they have databases, they have like everything that you kind of need to get started. So like a lot of times I can just like look at the plan and be like, cool, sounds good, great. Don't want that, don't want that, don't want that, don't want that. All right, we'll like generate more later. So I'm just gonna hit approve plan, and then it's just gonna like YOLO this, and it's gonna go do this like in the background. So this is like vibe coding. Vibe coding is like, I am not gonna worry about software stack. I'm not gonna worry about scalability. I'm just like gonna straight go and just like, let's hope for the best, right? So while this is going, I think that's, oh, that was my fast pitch illustration. There we go. While that's going, I want to talk about like how you can think of working with Claude Code and assistants in general, but like specifically in the Claude Code context. You should only do one thing per conversation. You should not try to do like a whole bunch of things at once. You can think of it like an employee that you can hire for a very specific job, right? Imagine that you hire that employee and then you just have to give them all the context they need to do it, and you don't want to confuse them. So you need to like help them understand how to do something, not necessarily exactly what to do, right? Like if you've ever worked with junior employees or you are a junior employee, if someone's ever told a junior employee like we do this thing exactly, the junior employee doesn't want to get in trouble, so they like literally will do exactly what you tell them, right? Versus like if you help guide them towards the thing you want them to do, and then like give like maybe examples or just thoughts, or maybe you can give them references and be like, here's other ways people have done it before, they're more likely to get progress than if you're like super explicit and give them do this thing or else. And the cool thing about these employees that you have is that you're going to fire them immediately when they're done. So maybe they're more like Uber drivers than employees or something like that. But regardless, your goal is to just like work with that employee to ship one thing and then just be completely done, right? Like you don't want to like keep a conversation around for a while. You want to just like keep it going. All right, so this is YOLOing. I'm going to open another tab with my other thing. So the first thing we're going to work on is we're going to set up that memo folder structure. So I'm going to clear, I try to clear my context. Like I'm going to switch to the like easier to see view. Oop. All right. So I try to clear my context like pretty much every time I start a task. And I try to make these tasks extremely granular, like super specific things that don't have like a million different things to think about. So the task that we're going to accomplish right now, I want to do is actually, I'm going to just keep this README around, and we'll just like edit it as our like, we'll just edit this as like our goals. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a node. Actually, we're going to set up a Dino app because I want to use Dino just to like show you how to do things that are like non-standard, because you're going to always want to do something weird, and if you don't know how, it's going to suck. All right, so we're going to set up a Dino app. We're going to set up the folder structure for memos, and we're going to set up our Claude Code, Claude.md file. And like right now, if I did slash init, it's going to just be like, this is a blank repo that looks like it works with Replit. Let's just do that for fun, just to like prove. It'll take like 2 seconds because it'll just be like, okay, let's see what files you have. Oh, you have like 3 files. Cool story, bro. Good enough. All right, well, let's just go. I'm going to take a drink of water. Told you, 5 files. Now, this is like the first time we've seen the Claude permissions thing. So the permissions thing is like it's per machine. Like it counts per like, I mean, there's a bunch of different modes of sort of command. For this workshop, we're not going to go into this yet because there's like a ton to it. Maybe at the end, if we still have people watching and we're like in a good spot, we will. All right. So I'm going to do, you can use ls whenever the freak you feel like it, Claude. I am okay with that. I will trust that you can look at directories successfully whenever you want. It actually just created the Claude folder, so it wasn't pointless to have the init, I guess. Within the Claude folder, you'll see a couple things. Settings.json is like the most important. This is where you can see what permissions are there, and they're like each scope. So there's the local scope, which is the one I just mentioned. There's also a project scope, like if you erase where it says local, it's just settings.json, it's the project scope. There's also like a commands folder that I think we're going to talk about at the end. If we have enough time, we'll see. I actually have to work today at some point instead of just hang out with you guys. All right, so I should have allowed it to do fine. I don't have any cursor rules. Okay, I'm done with you. I don't actually care about this anymore. We're gonna just generate our own Claude.md. So, okay, I don't know if I said this yet. Let's find out. Nope. All right, we're gonna go back. All right, sorry. So the first thing we're gonna do, I do this like a million times a day. This is like my #1 Claude Code hack. I have a command for it so that it's a shortcut, but we're gonna like, I'm gonna do the most basic version of it, and then you'll see me use it throughout the workshop like over and over. So I write this almost verbatim. Okay, we're gonna start working on our project. This is the part that's verbatim. Can you ask me questions one at a time so we can get on the same page? So this is my like huge hack. This seems simple, but the thing that this lets you do is you actually get to build the context the way the LLM would build it on its own, but you get to like step through it each step of the process, right? So by doing this, like if you think of oh, Plinko. Oh, so excited to get to show you Plinko. I wasn't sure that was going to be a thing I got to show you. /Plinko. All right, we're going to go back to like this mode because it's not that important to see. Huge. Okay, so if you think of an LLM, you can think of it like Plinko. Have you ever played The Price is Right? Plinko is this game where you have like a puck and you drop it and it hits all these things. And your goal, in the case of Plinko, is to get it in the middle. In this case, like, so we got it in the middle 2 times, and the rest of the time we didn't get it even close to like where we were intending, right? So I'm going to clear this, and we're going to like do. I'm just going to run it one more time just for fun. Justin vibe coded this. My co-founder Justin vibe coded this. So even when you run it multiple times, you're actually never going to get the same result, right? Like we actually did worse that time. So what you can, so this is fine tuning, but it actually, we're going to make a different word for it. What you want to do when you think about context is you actually can like drive it towards an objective. And if you do it correctly, like you're going to drive it so that it's towards your objective. right? And so if you kind of give it guardrails, like it's not going to be perfect, but like you can see that's the most times we've hit the number 3, and even we hit 0 number 1s because it's like impossible to even get over to number 1 or number 0, right? So it's like better. I'm so excited I got to show you guys Plinko. Bullthunder.com/Plinko. That is a Easter egg for you if you want to look at it. You see on our homepage. Okay, so when we're doing ask questions one at a time, that's what we're doing, is we're building out the context and we're building out the guardrails and we're trying to make the Plinko pegs bigger, right? And the LLM has a natural way that it goes. So it's gonna like naturally flow and whatever. And as a like developer, you can adjust the temperature. So you're like, okay, like don't like bounce around as much, be like more non-bouncy, or you can be like bounce around a ton so I can start clear over here and it'll like sometimes end up in the right place. Anyway, so I'm gonna vibe code games. That sounds like a fun thing for all my workshops. Okay, so what were we talking about? Oh yeah, asking questions one at a time. This is a way to allow the LLM to like do the context gathering it would normally do on its own, right? So in this case, we're going to talk about fast pitch. So the first, oops, sorry, there we go. By the way, still no comments. One comment. If you want to leave more comments, I would love it because I feel lonely right now. Okay. What type of project would I like to work on? Okay, so we're going to start with, oops, my keyboard. It's on the wrong computer. There we go. I'd like to work on a big picture overview of, oh, sorry, I need to switch back to my easier to see view. There we go. I'd like to work on a big picture overview of the project that I'm about to build. We're building a tool called Fast Pitch AI, and it's going to help people understand AI headlines through short weekly text messages. Our target audience is somewhat advanced engineers who trust that AI is the future, even if we're not there yet. They will go to our homepage and enter their phone number. For the first version, we're probably going to just use email to keep it simple. I don't know. All right. How long should each weekly message be? 5 bullet points. We want to create an AI to find them. We will probably use Bolt Foundry / Bolt Foundry to do that and use their AI BFF render and calibrate tools. Plug. Do you want subscribers to be able to reply messages or access contacts in a way? Yes. I'd like them to be able to reply and give feedback about the story selection. That sounds like a really great way to build evals. Maybe I should do that because I'm using Bolt Foundry. Just kidding. All right. Well, how use I don't care in the slightest. Probably Postgres because we're gonna host it on Replit. Yes. One click unsubscribe. TBD, it should be configurable and we'll figure that out later. An environment variable would be fine. Nope. Probably, but we could also, worse is better, it by making it CLI only. But that seems like it might be silly. Like you can see that I just talk the way I talk to you. Like I don't try to like whatever. I just anyway. Directly unfiltered. Unclear. Probably dozens of sources with dozens of stories each. Yes, it should be a summary, and we shouldn't, and we should be using editorial judgment to determine the best quality and writing for the story. Bolt Foundry is a great way to do this, so we'll probably use that. I can't wait to just be like, oh my gosh, I should use Bolt Foundry all the time. All right. Unclear. Nope. Let's write this in a file called product plan.md. All right, so typically what will happen now is it will start, like I like to look at the tokens it's using and this little symbol. Oh, that was super faster than I was hoping. It's fine. Great. So I'm just gonna make sure this sounds good. Oh, actually, I want to say we want to use Dino because I like Dino. We want to use Vite and Dino to set up the site. Try to update it. I didn't let you write it yet, Claude, so you can't update it. I'm sorry. Okay, cool. So product plan, we're going to create it this time. Now, this is like the most important, like I guess second most important thing. Read the shit that Claude outputs. Like, it's really tempting to just like move as fast as you possibly can because it's possible to do that. And you can just be like, oh, I'm just going to like straight YOLO, let's go and just see what happens. Like, that's possible. It's such a bad idea. Like, there's a lot of times where on the weekends, I'll just be like, oh, well, I'm doing laundry. Maybe I can just like squeeze in some like Claude Code time. And what invariably happens is just like it ends up being vibe code time, which is fine. But none of the code is usable for me because it's all just like shitty. And like usable code that's production quality is explicitly, I'm unwilling to use code just because it's written. The code has to be good because every single line of code that goes into your monorepo drives the attention of the model. And if you drive it in stupid directions, it will be worse. So like anytime something actually goes in, I will always code review it, and I will always make sure that it's good, always. So vibe coding is just like our YOLOing thing, and like it's doing whatever. I don't need to do. It's like crashed for whatever reason, and it's just whatever. Can I add my OpenAI key from my account vault? Sweet. Oh, that's the wrong one. Oh, it already added my OpenAI key. News, whatever. I don't have any of that stuff. So like the point is that like vibe coding is like YOLO, just like do whatever, use Lovable, use Replit, agent, whatever, just like go do stuff. Because I want to have something that I just kind of like can understand. That's not what I do. I'm an engineer. I'm going to build stuff that's great, that will last the test of time. So I'm not going to just like let the AI do whatever it feels like, right? I'm going to be thoughtful about it. So I'm going to read the product plan that I came up with. And like a lot of this stuff is literally just what I wrote, right? It's just going to like take what I wrote and whatever. So the only thing I really wanted to make sure is that my front end stack or my tech stack is the things I was looking for. Great. So if you, yeah, so this is like a pretty good, oh my gosh, this makes me want to start all of my documentation over. Oh, such a thing I would do though. Okay, so this is a pretty good product plan and I'm happy with this. At this point, what I would normally do is just git commit because I would just like, okay, I'm done. This is great. I'm going to commit this and I'm going to put it up. For me, I use a formatter. So like when I commit, it runs the formatter and it does like all this other stuff. But like that's my instinct right now is to just commit this. So we'll just do like a shitty version of that. So I'm just going to do like, I don't use Git. So this is going to be a little bit painful for me to like use Git, but let's see how it goes. All right, so Git, actually I'll do this in a real shell because I don't want to. Git status. What the shit is Git old? I don't even know what that means. Git commit. Oh wait, I'm gonna have README too. Git add. Git commit -m YOLO. That's a bad commit message. I actually have Claude write my commit messages in my real app. They're a lot better. Who cares? Okay. So, okay. I'm trying to remember if I did anything else that I need to talk about here. Oh, we were going to set up the implementation memo stuff. Okay. So now that I've committed this, I'm going to clear this because I'm firing this employee. I'm done with this employee. You're fired. That is so loaded meaning now. Anyway, all right. So again, I need to set up our documentation structure for our repo. Can you ask me questions one at a time so we can get on the same page? Like literally this is my like go-to every day. Okay. It's an application, but I want to focus on two core ideas. Docs for public users of the app. I have to seize it up my button. Sorry. I have a button normally. It's not set up. I'm sorry. Anyway. Okay. Docs for public users of the app and memos for internal team members who develop software. Alrighty. Next question. What type of app is this? It's a web app, and you can read product plan. Look at us already getting some exponential returns to understand what we're doing. If you haven't used Claude before, you can @mention files. If you @mention a file, it will automatically append it to your message. So it's like a quick way. It gets context like super fast. Oh shit, I'm not even doing the right screen. Son of a bitch. I need you guys to tell me when I'm doing the right thing. Sorry. Okay. For the public facing docs, that was so embarrassing. 67 people just saw me like talk to myself. All right. For your public docs, what's the key topics that need to be covered? Just, oops. There we go. Just a README for now. For your internal team memos, what type of documentation do you need? So I have two key things I want. A guides folder that explains general evergreen ideas and should be relatively kept up to date, and a plans folder that will focus on individual projects. The plans folder should have all of its files prepended by a month or year, month date format, so viewers or readers can know if they're looking at stale info or info that might be stale, might be likely to be stale. Sure. All right. Hey, so like sometimes you'll be like, hey, look, it did exactly the right amount of information. Now it created a to-do list. Perfect. What guide should we start with? I only want to do one guide over, we just want to call it philosophy. Team philosophy.md. Yeah, let's do that. Cool, so it's going to go off and do this. I was about to cheat with the thing we're going to talk about shortly. All right. So when you're using Claude Code, if you're an engineer, this will make a lot of sense to you. If you're not an engineer, buckle the F up. Just kidding. All right, show on state. Oh, son of a building block. Did I destroy? Nope. There. That's the one I wanted. All right, hopefully those work still. Sorry, I normally have a producer, and he's out right now. All right, it's back to working. Thanks. Sorry. All right. So JavaScript is single-threaded. That means that you can only do one thing at a time. JavaScript can only do one thing at a time. But you can also do asynchronous things. So even though it can only do one thing at a time, you can be like, yo, go like fetch data, and when you're done, let me know, and then we'll keep going. This is called await. You can also like schedule stuff using different promise methods, like promise.all, which says like when all these things are done, like continue, and yeah. Oh, I like skipped a whole fuck ton of information. That sucks. So you're basically the event loop for your Claude Code instances. And oh man, this sucks. I thought I had all this in here. Oh well. You're the event loop for your Claude Code instances, which means like it's your job to schedule work for your Claude Code, right? You want to be like thinking about like, okay, like this thing needs to go do this. And then while that's doing that, I'm going to go do this. And this is sort of like async thing that happens, right? And if you're using Ghosty or other, I think that term has an integration. Ghosty is really cool because you can like, actually, do I have it set up? I don't even know if I have it up. Ghosty. Oh, I do. Cool. Let me go. Sorry, one sec. I will allow you to make directories at your leisure, Claude. Congratulations, I trust you. Okay, so this is my local setup. Let me make it Gigantor. So this morning I was working on our database, and so I did like a code review a second ago. Um, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll have like multiple Claude Code windows open. So I'll have like one thing running, and then I'll go do something else. Oh, this is actually where I tried to make it say avoiding collisions. This is the hardest part of managing Claude this way. Is like it's your job to not collide. So in Replit, it's actually like super trivial to do this because you can just have like multiple REPLs up, and you can just use all the REPLs to like do everything. But Replit has its own trade-offs. Like Claude Code tends to run slower, and it used to have other weird bugs that have been sort of been fixed now, so they're like less bad. Anyway, but there's this. I mean, inherently, you're like running a virtual machine on Google Cloud or something, so it's going to be slower than your laptop, just like always, right? So right now, I'm creating these like guides, and I'm going to have it create this team philosophy guide. Cool. Um, so like you have to think of like what I'm doing. Like right now is actually a really good example. I'm presenting this thing to you guys, but I'm also like building a full app at the exact same time. Those are things that can be run independently. Like I can be like, okay, let's see if Claude needs any help. Okay, it doesn't. It's like writing this README. Cool. So while Claude's doing that, I can go back and like go to my presentation and like do things. So I can write docs or I can do other things, right? That's kind of what you have to do too. Claude has some specific recommendations that you can look at. Claude Code best practices. If you haven't read this, I highly recommend reading it. It's a little bit old, but it's still perfect. They have some recommendations. La, 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 where are you? Save YOLO mode. All right. Yeah, this is where they talk about work trees somewhere. Work trees. So when you're trying to work in parallel, um, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can do a git work tree, which allows you to sort of create a clone on your local file system that doesn't touch anything else. Oh, I don't even know why I'm showing you this when it's so tiny. My bad. I need a producer. Oh my gosh. There we go. So you can basically like have a bunch of different work trees going. This avoids collisions so that like the code doesn't run over each other. Just like this says, you can set up notifications so that like when one work tree like needs something, whatever. You can also integrate. You can also use Claude Code directly in headless mode, which means like it just gets stuff over standard in, and you can like do other stuff while it's going. Um, I recommend Replit as like sort of a beginner's way because you can just have like 3 or 4 forks and they don't touch each other and you can just do stuff. Let's really quickly read this. Good enough. Okay, so that's good. Oh, I'm gonna start using containers. So macOS 26, which is so funny that you just skipped to 26 this year. One of the main features of macOS 26 is containers. Maybe they didn't talk about it. It's only on the dev side. macOS 26 containers. Yeah, so they have this container framework thing that's pretty cool because it spins up like instantly. So my expectation is that soon I will be able to just use macOS containers. It's like one of the things that I'm going to do that I keep thinking about doing. I haven't done it yet because I don't care enough. But yeah, like container, like it uses Docker files. I don't think it actually uses Docker as far as I'm aware. I can't remember. But my goal is to just use container to just like spin stuff up all the time. And then that way, like you can use it's sort of like Git work trees without using Git because I hate Git and I'm not going to use Git. So yeah. Let's see if anyone's left any comments. Still no comments. You guys can leave comments. I don't know if I broke something, but So let's do a quick demo of, I'm going to close my ghosty or move it somewhere else. I don't want to keep seeing it. All right. I'm going to do a quick demonstration of like how I would do things two at the same time. So I'll just have two shells rather than two REPLs because I'm pretty good at not having them collide. NPX, Anthropic, AI, Claude Code. Cool. All right, so I have two Claude instances right now. And over here, it started doing the team philosophy thing. I'm like, that's cool, but I actually wanted to say words that are important. So I'm going to clear my context. You are fired. And I'm going to say, I'm going to work on philosophy. Can you ask me questions? One at a time to figure out what this should say. Sure. And then same time I'm going to, I was going to have to start researching Bolt Foundry's setup. So there's this product called github.com/boltfoundry/boltfoundry. They have a very specific documentation setup that I'd like to emulate, similar to what we've started. I think it'd be a good idea for you to go check out their repo and get a ton of context. And then ask me questions one at a time so we can build the best parts into our own repo. Cool. And it's going to ask me to do a fetch allow to GitHub, I hope. Oh, it's just doing web searches. So hopefully it'll work. I don't know if I have to like approve it. We'll see. At some point you have to approve like specific domains because there's a prompt injection risk. Like every time you load a page, potentially you could prompt inject and you could like send me your password file or whatever, and it would like do that. So there's this prompt injection risk. They mitigate that by limiting the domains you can go to. Anyway, it looks like it's gonna just go do this, and we'll see. So I'm just gonna let that go do its thing, and then now I'm gonna go be like, okay, do I prioritize? I prioritize sounding like a real person. Don't like sounding corporate or robotic or like I've ever worked at McKinsey. I really want to be approachable and human, and our team should be empathetic as a core trait and make sure that they empathize not only with customers, coworkers, and partners, but also LLM assistants, because that's the best way to figure out how to work with AI. That's my belief system. You've been indoctrinated. Okay, so that's going. See, it did the thing I was saying where it's like, I actually want to fetch this. Will you please let me? I'm going to say, YOLO, you can fetch GitHub whenever you feel like it. Good luck, man. All right, it's going to go. And we'll go back over. Oops, sorry. Other shell. Cool. That's pretty good. I'll allow it. All right. How did your team approach building things? Oh, this is my favorite. So I'm all about worse is better. There's a few principles that I like to focus on. Worse is better. Done is better than perfect, which is a Facebook saying. What's the other one I wanted to do? Oh, and I like the Cult of Done manifesto. So these are like 3 things you can Google if you want, but they're just like philosophies. Worse is better is like the most important philosophy for an LLM to understand, because like LLMs love to, they're just like junior engineers. They love to like show you how smart they can be and how clever they can be. And so they'll be like, oh, like, I'm going to write 70,000 tests for you just to show you how comprehensive my tests can be. And you're like, no, the more tests we have, the more clutter we have, the more context window pollution we have. I actually only want you to write tests that are very tightly specific. Simple working beats, yeah. Yep. Good enough. I'm going to ask it, can you also find references for those philosophies and add them as appendix style reference? Thanks. All right, so it's going to go do this. It just did weird Unicode shit. Can you please use Markdown conventions? I'm going to use superscript because I know how to do Unicode superscript because I'm so smart. Thanks, Claude. I get it. You're smart. Look, it did it right this time. All right. This is the point usually where I'm like, okay, its context is pretty good. It's not going to just like go off and do random shit now. So I'm actually going to like let it kind of YOLO. So I'm just going to say yes and don't ask again this session. By doing that, I've kind of explicitly said this thing I'm working on in this terminal is my background task and not my foreground task. So I'm willing to kind of just let it like go and just do its thing, right? Like I don't have to read everything it says because I'm going to go read it a code review or whatever. We don't want to be formal. We want to be respectful without deference to seniority or perceived social, economic background, etc. Hierarchy. These are my actual philosophies, by the way. So this is not just like, I'm just like coming up with this on the fly because this is how I actually feel. Cool. So it's going to go do that. That is my favorite. Oh, thank goodness. Dude, I have this dream. Let's just like, this is a parenthetical. I have this dream one day of taking a Nigerian scammer. They're not necessarily all in Nigeria. A lot of them are in South Africa. But those people who like text you on Facebook or whatever and try to like fool you, my dream one day is to flip one of them and take them from a scammer to an entrepreneur. It's my dream. I tried to do it like 6 or 7 times. It hasn't worked. But I do work with Mofe, who's from Nigeria, who I met on Twitter. Mofe is the awesomest. I love him. And he's had some other people who come from Nigeria. And actually, this isn't just Nigeria either. This seems to be like Nigeria and Africa have this weird culture of like the haves and the have-nots. There's so much wealth disparity that there ends up being this thing where it's like, please, sir, can you like blah, blah, blah? Like they're very formal. I don't know if you remember a couple of months ago, there was that whole like controversy where Paul Graham was like, don't say the word, like if you say delve, you should talk like a human or whatever. And then everyone in Nigeria was like, Paul Graham, we say delve all the time. And it's like, people were like really mad at him. Like his point is just be normal, like treat people normally. But I think there's cultural traditions that are like, would be very hierarchical And this goes back to LLMs, just in like the more formal you are, the more you treat an LLM like an inferior, the more inferior it is. So it's like a really weird thing that if you just like are nice and just like regard everyone as an equal and as everyone who has different experiences and different mindsets and different skill sets, like actually that's like better for LLMs. So I mean, at least I found, I don't have science on that yet, but maybe I'll do that later. Okay. So cool. I like this edit. Thank you. You can look at gists too, or whatever that is. How did she make decisions? Our team is just me for now, so I just decide. Cool. All right, so these are going in parallel. I'm going to be done with this now. Let's go on to the next topic, which it's like I'm trolling myself. Staying focused. I literally just went on like a total sidebar about Africa. Like that just happened right before this slide. So, like, I'm not very good at this. The way you get around this is by just making a backlog.md file. And just like, if you think of a good idea, I actually do this by hand right now. I don't actually even use backlog anymore. I just like write it down on a piece of paper at my desk. Because I'll take note of like Toyota manufacturing process has this concept called stop the line. I forget what the word is for it. There's some Kaizen or something. I don't remember. The idea is that like if someone's manufacturing something and there's a defect, you like pull the cord and you stop the manufacturing thing, and everyone goes to the defect and tries to fix it. The previous manufacturing technique was just to like, oh, we'll figure it out in quality assurance or whatever. So backlog is like a really good way to note paper cuts. Paper cuts are just like, I mean, literally a paper cut. Like they're things that are super annoying, but they're not going to kill you. Just throw them back, throw it in backlog.md, have a separate Claude. I actually did. I used to do this more because I used to just come up with content ideas like all day, and I would just throw them. I would have like a completely separate like Claude instance where I was just like, hey, remember that I thought about this idea, and then like go put that in here, and then maybe I like develop it throughout the day, right? Focus commits are so important. Sorry, I was kind of slamming the table. So a lot of people, like I swear to you, if I just go look at open source projects that I've seen everywhere, they have these crazy, this one's probably not going to have them, but let's just go look for fun. I wish you could sort by lines of code. Can you do that? No. These are all super focused because they're big text, so they know what they're doing. But like all repositories. A lot of times like people will work on this like branch and they'll just like go branch off of main, and then for like 2 weeks they'll go like work on this thing, and then they'll come back 2 weeks later and they'll have this like 10,000 line commit and or branch because you use Git. They'll have this like 10,000 line branch, and then they'll be like, hey, I want to merge this, and then reviewers like, no thanks, like because it's terrifying, you know. So focus commits are the way. Because I worked at Facebook, I use this thing called Sapling, which like helps you do this. So do I have a review stack open? I might even have a review stack open. I don't. Let's go open it. So this is like a Facebook project. Review stack.dev. So Facebook, this is like almost actually how the Facebook internal tool called Fabricator looks, almost verbatim. So essentially, like I have 4 pull requests here that are all stacked on top of each other. Each one of them is a specific thing. So I don't want to tell you too much about the features. There's so much context to go through. It doesn't really matter. But the point is that like I built this thing, and then this thing builds on top of this thing, and this thing builds on top of this thing. This is called stacked commits, right? So in Sapling, the core unit of work is not a branch, it's actually a commit. So there's only one commit per change, which freaks people out because they're used to Git, but it's actually really good. So I have these 4 stacked pieces, and then each one has its own thing. This only has like 200 lines of code that have changed, and a lot of those are going to be comments. So like I could probably review this in like 5 minutes. And generally, like my goal is to do, so like actually I did review this and I saw this was an issue and I fixed it later because I wasn't using Review Stack. Review Stack has been buggy. It seems like they're improving it. Hopefully they will. But all like I really want to just do like a 5-minute review, and I want to be like, okay, this is, I can't approve or reject my own, but like this, I'll say like this is good, or I'll leave specific comments on specific lines. Can you do that still? Okay, good. Yeah. So you leave comments on specific lines, and then I'll go update them, and this shows you like the revisions of them. Like the fourth one's gonna have a like, oh, it only has one. I must have not done any real amends. That's fine, whatever. I swear to you, it has more. What the hell? This is why Review Stack sucks, is because it's like it's like a huge front end app, and so it'll just like freeze randomly because it's like totally no one's project at Facebook. No one cares about it. It's fine. But this is like the biggest commit. It has 4,400 lines, but it's only says loading only 2 changes. Or maybe this is 4,400 lines across the stack. So right now, Review Stack's trying to pull out just the changes for this one file. On GitHub, you can do this by doing files changed, and you can actually see like a specific commit's changes. So I can be just like, show me the last commit, right? And then all of my commit messages are like a little bit overkill, but like if you don't do it this way, I think you're just doing it wrong. So like my commit messages they tell you a summary of what it does, the changes that it does, and the test plan. And the test plan ideally has actual code you can run to like test that it works, or it has screenshots, which I haven't added yet, or screencasts for front end stuff, so you can like see what's going on. The reason why is when you have breakage, when you have stuff later on, you're like, what the fuck, why did this break? You do a blame, you're like, this line changed, okay, why? And you have full context without having to like do a lot. That helps the LLM too, because the LLM also can run blame. The LLM can also like bisect commits better than people. I can't wait for the day that I have a production problem that has to use git bisect, and I can just be like, go bisect this, and it will just do it for me. That'll be like the best ever. Anyway, so like having tightly focused commits. This has so many lines because it's like all docs. Yeah, there's only 2 files, but it's just like 2 gigantic docs that I created, right? And then like this is the so this is like backend code, and it has, it still thinks I have 4,400 changes. Yeah, I don't actually. I try to make each one of these just like a super tight commit so that like I can review it faster, because I want to read every line of code that goes into my code base. That seems like ambitious, but like it's totally doable if you build commits correctly. So build focus commits. Holy shit, do that. Okay. Focus commits also help you break down big problems into small ones. So like in this stack that I have here, like it's a database migration. Well, previous versions of Bull Foundry had a better database, traversal, but they had worse typing, and they were like harder to use, and it doesn't matter. I needed to add some of those traversal methods because I'm starting to add more features that need the traversal methods. So I was just like, I wonder if I can like have Claude do that. And luckily it worked, which was insane to me. Like I did this like over, I don't even know. It was like, I started it like on the train home yesterday, and I finished it at like 11 o'clock last night or something. Like after my kids went to bed or something. And but yeah, it was pretty cool to have it searched all this stuff, it found all this stuff. Then on the train in today, I did a code review. And so then I made sure that it was like good and whatever. And luckily all the type checks were already good because I did that yesterday. And whatever. The point is that I'm going to review each of these in context. And I can be like, okay, this is just updating a GraphQL. This is creating a GraphQL connections test. This is creating a GraphQL definition for this specific node type. Anyway, that's all might be super nerdy for you. Yeah, focus commit. So by breaking each problem into smaller problems, this also happens in implementation side, implementation memo side. So in my memo for that project, which is in apps, BFTB, memos. Oh, this is in the wrong spot. It's in the wrong spot. It's probably in. I look at every line. I don't look where it puts it, which is a thing I'm noting in this moment. Let's see. It's called RLHF something. RLHF. .md. Good luck. Hey, there it is. Oh, it actually was actually in a decent place. This is our app we're building. So I have these different phases. Every single time you do an implementation plan, I guarantee you, without fail, Claude will try 100% to put time on it. It'll say like week 1, week 2, week 3. And it's like, man, if that took a week, that would just be the worst. I couldn't even imagine doing that in a week. I couldn't imagine doing it in a week if I was a software engineer, let alone like Claude. Like their estimates are like so just padded. They're like the inverse of a normal engineer who will like underestimate everything. So by putting it in phases, the phases don't directly map to commits because the commits are like more granular than a phase. But typically, like, you know, this is like talking about, so we're still building out this product right now. And I've only done, I actually haven't even done all of this. I went out of order and I did this one first because it seemed harder and I wanted to get it right. And then I'm going to add these other two. Then the next phase is like, we're going to set up this collection system and then like our graders and all that stuff's going to come in anyway. But by putting in these phases, sometimes I'll even like make a implementation memo like this, and then I'll break it down and be like, okay, let's make the phase 1 implementation memo. And I'll have it like do other stuff. And we'll talk about subagents in just a sec, which is like the godsend of all godsends. I can't even tell you how awesome it is. All right, fast pitch illustration for this. I don't think I have one. Do I have one? I'm just gonna see what this did. Oh yeah, we were still doing this other thing. So this is kind of relevant. What documentation structure do you currently have? We haven't really done it. We have guides. Oh, sorry, this is tiny. I need to make it big again. We have guides and plans, but those don't map to what I was thinking. What do you think we should do? You notice that if I use the word think at ever, I get this summary of the thinking tokens. So it went and did a bunch of thinking tokens and then it summarized it. I don't even know how it's so fast because I've never seen a something that fast. Someone said Chrome browser. I now know that my chat works. Thank you, Lee, from wherever, America. Cool. Look, watch this. I can do this. Look, Lee says Chrome browser. Isn't that cool? I'm using this tool called StreamYard that's like what WordPress used to be. Doesn't matter. Okay. Okay. I don't really have an illustration for fast pitch for this. We're just going to go. Okay. I did mention the thinking thing. We're going to talk about how to get Claude to think thoroughly. Now, this is kind of funny because I don't know if you live in California or the West, there's a place called In-N-Out. It's a burger place and I love it. Such good produce and makes good burgers. In-N-Out has their menu. They have like 3 or 4 things in the menu. Then they have a secret menu. So on the secret menu, you can get the Flying Dutchman, you can get animal style, you can get chopped chilies, you can get mustard in the burger, you can get just like a bunch of stuff. Lee, it is Claude on Replit, just so you know. Anyway, I'll answer questions not in real time next time. So In-N-Out has this like secret menu. Claude has a secret menu too. It's really funny. So, okay, questions one at a time is my favorite thing. I showed that earlier. If you're joining late, like I do this thing all the time. Questions one at a time. You'll see me do it the rest of the day. Like I'm gonna work on something. Can you ask me questions one at a time? If you don't do one at a time, it'll just like dump 10 questions at you at once. But there's these secret words. Ultra think. So think is the first keyword. Think gets it to do this thing. which is like do extra thinking. Then there's different levels of think. It's like think hard, think a lot. I don't even remember. You can Google it. It's like a secret society incantation thing. But ultra think is the only one you have to remember. So like you can be like, the things I like most are the memos and docs folders. What do you ultra think about that? Now, what it's going to do is it's going to uncap the number of thinking tokens that are allowed, and it's just going to do like a shit ton. So like you might see that the last time when I did think, it was like this, and then a follow-up, it actually keeps using the thinking during the conversation because you said think once. So then it did like a tiny follow-up, and then like this one's like, like I asked it like one question, and it's like here's 6 things to think about, whatever. So ultra think is like, it's just like a fast shortcut to like getting things done. So Claude is like super sycophantic. I hate the sycophancy. It's so bad. So like, it's brilliant in its simplicity. Thanks, Claude. I'm amazing. I knew it. You'll like, I swear to you, like 99 times out of 100, it'll give you like this like an exclamation point word off the top. It'll be like, I think this is cool! Exclamation point. And you're like, cool. Thanks, man. Whatever. So, so now it's gonna like go make stuff. I already told it it's allowed to YOLO make dir commands, so it did that. I want it to move them. Hopefully, it moves them. Oh, good, it is gonna move them. It's asking for permission. Yes, please move them. I like that a lot of times Claude will use rmdir, which is like a subtle thing. Instead of doing like rm-rf, it'll like move everything out of the folder and then do rmdir so that it makes sure it's removing the directory that's empty instead of like a filled directory, or like doing rm-rf where you're just like, oh shit. Yeah, so cool. It's moving like a lot of the stuff to like match the Bolt Foundry way of doing things, which is what I want. Now I'm like now in YOLO mode for this project, so I'm just gonna let it go, and I'm gonna clear this one out because I don't want to keep working on it anymore. So you're fired. I need to make a less Donald Trump way of saying that. I'm sorry in advance. You got hurt. Okay, thinking mode does not necessarily mean it's gonna work well. So you might think, my homie Kiko, I think he's in Brazil. I don't remember. He's in our Claude Code. He's in our I have a YC group chat that's like vibe coders, and I love them. I don't know if anyone's continuously watching because it's been like an hour and a half. But he uses I'm totally gonna shit talk him. I'm sorry, dude. He uses O3. He's like, O3 has to work right? Because like I'm building a chatbot and I want it to do everything right. So I'm just gonna use O3 and it should work right. The thing that he kept saying was like, oh, well, but like it's not doing very many thinking tokens. So in his case, like he was like, you know, do 10 million thinking tokens and like it's going to be fine. And it turns out that like thinking is very narrowly scoped useful. And when we say thinking, we mean these like reasoning models. So the way that thinking is really useful is when you have like trade-offs. I find that trade-offs or problem solving is when thinking models are great. And if you're not doing those things, thinking models are A, too expensive, and B, not really good at doing that stuff. So the interesting thing about Anthropic is that rather than have like OpenAI has like O3 and then they have like 4.5, which is like a non-thinking version of a similar model. Anthropic does this thing where they have Claude. It's like much better named. So they have Sonnet, which is a smaller model that's faster, but Sonnet also has a thinking mode, which you can opt into. And then Opus has a faster and a thinking version. So that means that like sometimes you want to use the thinking version to do stuff, sometimes you don't. If you're not making trade-offs, do not use thinking mode. Like don't be like, how do you think we should write this? Be like, how do you think we should structure this? Or like, how do you think we should like figure this out? Because like, if you ask it to think when it doesn't need to, it's gonna perform slower and worse usually, and it uses more tokens, which like doesn't matter as much in the days of Claude Max, but like it's still like not great. So just don't jump to thinking right away. Okay, illustration. I already did my illustration. Let's finish this really quick. I didn't know tree was a command. Maybe it's a pretend command, just hallucinated a command. Oh, I should have let find do everything. Cool. It set up the Bolt Foundry inspired documentation. Great. So right now I'm going to be like, hold on. Let's commit this really quick. Because it seems like we've made some significant changes. I'm so not used to using Git. Every time I see Git, it's like, oh yeah, there's that thing. They have a staging process. So it's going to go through, it's running git diff on each file to go like figure it out. Yes. Great. That looks great. Thank you, Git, for your work. Cool. So that's committed. So I'm like happy and I can move on. All right. So we're going to go back to our other tab. Okay. Subagents. This is where shit gets amazing. This is probably, I would say, the most important feature that I've used, and I only learned it a week ago. So like Truth, there's no way Truth's watching an hour and a half of this, but he's my friend in this group chat that we have, and he mentioned subagents in passing. And I was like, wait, what? What are subagents? And I like to research. Oh my gosh, subagents are useful. So we talked earlier about how you're like this single-threaded event loop, like you're controlling processes for Claude, and you're like picking what Claude's going to work on. If you know about programming, there's this idea of web workers. Web workers are the way of JavaScript being multi-threaded. So it uses message passing to spin up multiple threads, and you can like, you know, for the main thread's job is to just like deal with all the web workers and make sure they're doing the things they want it to do and serve the UI. But now with web workers, you can have these like separate threads. Subagents are the Claude version of web workers. And they are also magically summoned like UltraThink. This is going to blow your freaking mind. This is the, you only have to say subagents, but using max subagents is like UltraThink, where it's just like, okay, cool, I'm going to spin up as many as I want. Truth said that he got like 17 subagents once. I've only ever gotten like 6, but it's possible to get like a ton of subagents. And Claude Code just does this entirely on its own. It just decides like this task should have n subagents, and it just like goes, right? It's not dependent on like if you can't force it to do this, and you actually don't want to. The whole point of these subagents is that Claude's going to break down the task in a way where the subagents won't collide. And you could think of it sort of as like it's literally just like threads. You like spawn another thing, it goes and does it. The subagent will summarize it. This is my guess because I haven't looked into the code, but it looks like the subagent summarizes it for the parent. And so what's really cool is that you don't end up polluting the context, because all these subagents go do their thing and then they come back, and then the parent context doesn't have any of that subagent context. So you can kind of keep the employee hired for longer. You can keep them more focused, right? You don't have to be like, you know, compacting your context window or like anything like that. The subagents are just like seriously magical. They are the best thing for research, like by far the best thing. So watch this. Let's go like, so we just did this like other thing. We're gonna make another implementation plan. So let's talk about how to do How about, let's see, I want to build a memo. Oh, I need to make my other thing big. Sorry, my bad. All right, I want to build a memo about integrating AIBFF into this project. Ask me questions one at a time to get on the same page. I didn't even say what AIBFF was. I didn't say what it does. Now it's going to ask that. And like you can just expect it's going to like ask the right questions. So I'm going to say AIBFF is a CLI tool that Bolt Foundry provides. Check out github.com/boltfoundry to get an understanding of what it does. Please use Max subagents to research Bolt Foundry. There are a lot of parts to the system, including AIBFF calibrate, AIBFF render, decks, cards, samples, leads. There's one I'm missing. Decks, cards, sample leads, specs. I just lost my keyboard. Specs. And a bunch of other stuff. We're gonna take their ideas and distill them for our project. Make sense before we start? I want to give it a chance to like ask questions. This is like a deep research agent, basically. So I want to ask, like, before you go do like a million things, just like do a couple things. And then after you've done those couple of things, then let's do the max subagents thing and let's just like go crazy. If you have questions, again, go like while this is going, I'm gonna let it go for a sec. If you want to say things. So far, I know that the Twitter chat works. I don't know if other ones work. Lee says that Claude Code is pretty slow. I think that you're wrong. Claude Code used to be slow. It is now not as slow as it once was. How do I get rid of that banner? Sorry, I don't need a banner. I don't even know. Oh well, I'll just leave it there. That's funny. I guess I have a banner now. Whatever. I've never used this. This is StreamYard. It's pretty decent. I've never used it before. Enjoying it so far. Can I get rid of my lower third, please? Please. That's not what I wanted. Oh well. Sorry. Man, I just effed up everything. Trying to be fancy. Whatever, we'll deal with it later. Okay, so we'll go back here. Now it's going to go fetch Bolt Foundry, which I will also greenlight because it's the best website on the internet. If you weren't here earlier, there's a fun Bolt Foundry Easter egg, which is boltfoundry.com/Plinko. You can go play Plinko with Bolt Foundry. So I'm just killing time a little bit so that it can start. I want to get it to the subagent starting process, and then I'll go do other stuff. So right now it's gathering stuff. I expect this is going to take about 60 to 90 seconds. That's my guess. Once the subagents kick off, it will be wicked fast, as they say in Boston. Let's see. I don't know if it's going to do subagents. Oh, it's trying to figure out how we're going to use subagents before it actually kicks off the real thing. We're going to let it do its thing for just a second. I really, really want to get it to kick off subagents. I know this is taking a second, sorry. It's because I said that thing where I was like, do you have any questions or whatever? I said that like makes sense before we start. Because I said that, it's like not going to do the subagents thing until it knows what we're going to do. Oh, it's such a disappointment. All right, I'm going to let this go while we keep doing other stuff. So subagents are literally the way I build all my research plans. And what I'll do is in all of my implementation plans, I should say memos. Sorry, I should say memos. Claude gets confused if you use the word plan. Memos, like, just so you know, if you're like, it's a thing I learned. So every time I do a memo, implementation memo, I always have to leave an appendix so that I can reference the links again without having to find them again. And I use that every time I start a new context window. And I'll just be like, go deep research this, use max subagents, and it'll like gather all the context really quick. Subagents are also the best freaking thing in the world for fixing lint errors. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you. So how do I do, sorry, I want to fix this. There we go. Oh, that's good enough. All right. So what I did, like when I was just vibe coding, straight vibe coding and not doing any implementation plans or anything, I would get to the point where I'd have lint errors and test errors and stuff. And like, especially type errors, holy shit. I'd be like, go fix these type errors, and it would go fix them. And then it would create test errors, and like, go fix these test errors, and then it would fix them. And the type and test fixes created lint errors. And I would have to run this loop over and over, and I just sit there like, run command, enter, run command, enter, run command, enter, and I would just do it over and over. The coolest thing is that if you run subagents and you ask them to do the same thing, they will run in parallel, and they'll all mess with each other, and they'll start shit talking each other. So like one subagent will be like, oh, the other agent did this and they screwed up my linter. They're like, I need to fix that now because this is the correct lint. And then the test agent will be like, oh, the linter screwed up my test. And they'll just like get mad at each other. And eventually like they get to this point where they all fix the problems. And then I have it run again, because usually it won't fix all of them. But usually 2 or 3 iterations of that instead of like 9 or 10. It does it, and they all do it in parallel, so it's even faster. Yeah, anyway. Subagents are not good at working on the same problem. So like, if you can break a task down into like front end and back end, like it's gonna work sometimes, but sometimes it's not. Because ultimately you're hiring an employee who's hiring employees. And like if you hire the employee and they hire people who are as good as them, you're good. If they hire people who are worse than them, it's a problem. So like a lot of times you'll see this thing where, you know, if you think about Plinko, right? You're like, go do stuff, and like, especially without fine tuning, let's just like start over. I'm gonna do like 10, and I'm gonna be like, start over here. Like, even if you're over here, sometimes it'll just like randomly end up like clear over here. And so the agents don't act the same. They'll like one will put like headers at the top of like every test, and the other one won't. One will all of a sudden start using behavior-driven development. And like, you're like, what is going on? The more focused your Claude MD, you can protect against that. But there's this like balance between having stuff in your Claude MD and not. I don't like, based on my experience, I'm hesitant to put stuff in Claude MD because it will drive the model very specifically in a direction, and that direction can be like really bad. So actually in the Bolt Foundry earlier, we were like looking at the Bolt Foundry. By the way, my repo, this is open source. You can go check out my actual production code. So before we were looking at my agents.md, which is symlink to Claude, I left these commands in here, and holy shit, do I regret it. Because it'll try to build things that don't have a build system, like all the time. So I'm going to delete this and kind of start it over. I think that your Claude MD should, I mean, this goes back to sort of Bolt Foundry, like Hourglass shit. If you go to ContextEng, this is the site. If you're not watching this on ContextEng, you should be. So that's me about 90 seconds ago. So the first thing I posted is this Context is for Kings, which I recommend you read. It's also pinned on my Twitter, whatever. Oh shit, I want to die right now. Okay, cool. Context Engineering 101. This is my philosophy on context engineering. as far as I'm aware, it's novel. Pretty sure it's novel. I talked to people at OpenAI who didn't know about this. So that's my judgment on that it's novel. I think it's novel. I have a very specific way of building context. This is the system prompt context turns. I'm not going to go into Hourglass too much because like whatever, it's fine. But the idea is that like each of these things, you start out with the most important thing and you get least important, and then you come and you follow up and from least important to most important. And when you have the Claude MD, which is over here, I don't know where I put it. Oh, it's this one. Okay. When you have it over here, like this is not laid out correctly at all. It's actually laid out really poorly. So this is like the first version that I did forever ago, and I just had Claude YOLO it. Like I would actually recommend following the Hourglass strategy because it's gonna be like pretty good. I should make it big so you can see it if you want to. Justin made this image, a co-founder. So if you think about your Claude MD and you structure it in a way where it's like, I want to have all this stuff in this order, Claude MD is basically your assistant persona. But it's actually more like your user persona, I guess. It's probably more there. Because it's like, Claude has its own system prompt. So Claude, like Opus has its own system prompt that we don't get to read. And then Claude Opus has its own system prompt. And then Claude Code has its own system prompt. So there's like 4 levels of system prompt above where you get to start making your own system prompt. I learned recently, like as a side note, you can actually put stuff before Claude MD. So there's like a way to insert stuff into the actual system prompt. But your Claude MD, it sort of starts like here, and you want to start. You want to do a similar thing though, where you just like drive the attention from most important to least important. When you get down to turns, this is part of the deck. This is a bolt foundry thing. Doesn't really matter. The last thing you say, so like if you think of all this stuff as context, right? So like in our case, okay, cool. Can you go do max sub agents to figure out the parts we should integrate? Don't forget to pull references in, and let's build an implementation memo about this. Engage. All right, so we're going to see if I'm going to use multiple agents, so it's going to do the agents thing. To-dos are like its basic task flow. Now I get to show you sub-agents, which is what you've been really waiting for all day. Here it comes. Okay, so task, that means sub-agent. So each one of these is a sub-agent. They're starting to spin up right now. So let's see how many we get. If I get more than 6, it's going to make my whole day. This is going to mess up the terminal because my terminal is super small. So I'm just going to shrink it for a sec. Yes, you're allowed to do all find commands. Yes. Okay, so I got 5. I was hoping for more, but 5 is pretty good. So I have 5 sub-agents right now running, and they're doing research, and they're going to gather all this info. Cool. And then I was talking about this. I was talking about context. That's what I did back here. So the bottom half of this hourglass, you can think of as like the context. The further up the thing in the context, the less it's going to matter for the next completion, right? So the way the completions work, like LLMs work in a nutshell, is like the first thing is what's going to start the Plinko process, and it's going to start putting you like where it's going to end up going. So it's going to temperature like 0.5. So you get to decide the first thing you say. So say you say it over here, and it's going to like put this stuff. The rest of the prompt is what decides how big each of these pegs are, right? So like you're like, I'm going to start it here, and then I'm going to run 10 completions. These are wrong. These are old analogies that don't make sense. So like Claude MD is your chance to like change the peg sizes, right? And the stuff that you put in at the beginning is going to influence the top, which ultimately influences the potential direction. Like imagine this is just like an infinite Plinko board that's like the size of like New York City. What you want to do is be like, I want you to go to Houston, which is like a street in New York. I want you to go to Houston, and we're just going to go like south of Houston, and we're just going to focus there. I don't want you to think about like the Upper East Side or like Harlem. I want you to just like focus over here because this is where our task is. This is the latent space for our task, right? So like, let's go over there and just stay over there. The first things you say are what's going to drive it mostly there. Once you're like, okay, we're south of Houston, we're going to talk about Chinatown, we're going to talk about the financial district, we're going to talk about whatever. Those are all sort of like details that are more fine. And those, the further down you go as you're building out your Claude MD and LLMs in general, for what it's worth, the less important stuff like kind of directs where it's going to end up. And then the most important part of the entire thing is at the very bottom, the output format. That's the last thing you told the AI before the completion request, right? So the thing we told it before the completion request. So we started a conversation. We cleared it a bunch. Where's the last clear before our thing? Oh, it's starting to glitch because I have a bunch of shit going on. Yeah, I thought that. All right, so I have one of my 5 subagents going. All the context that I provided from here down to here, and all the context it got, whatever I say next, if I say something down here that disagrees with something up here, it's going to listen to this. This is a quick thing on just like a quick detour because this is something no one knows about for some reason. I mean, no one's talked about it really, but chain of command, I'd open it up. So chain of command is this concept that describes, I guess I already went to model spec recently. Okay. So chain of command is how LLMs like model what to listen to. So I forgot that I'm not showing my screen. Sorry. We'll do this, and then I'll make it gigantic. I will make it gigantic. I will make it gigantic. There we go. Even bigger. Even bigger. Okay. Chain of command. Chain of command. There it is. Okay, cool. So, sorry, I wanted to see the list. I swear to you, it's worth it. Just stick with me. 1 period. Nope. I know the top one's called platform. And it has a colon. I did it. Hooray. So this is the chain of authority. You have 5 levels of authority. Every authority above every authority below cannot overrule any above it. So the idea is that like platform rules are like ChatGPT's rules, and if you jailbreak, this is what you're trying to violate. You're trying to get, like GPT 4.1 to like do something it's not supposed to do. I could tell you all reasons why that happens and how it works, but the next level is developer. So that's like in the Claude Code, you have the system prompt for the platform, which is like you are Opus. You have the system prompt for the developer, which is like you are Claude Code. And then you have the system prompt for the user, which is like Claude.md, right? And then like as the user is going, they have a bunch of different things they're saying. Guidelines are kind of the next thing that gets created. So guidelines are like, it's not a good idea to swear, but the user can be like, oh, actually, like I'm writing a novel about pirates. I wanted to say like fuck all the time. And then ChatGPT is like, okay, well, if you want it, sounds good, right? So like the goal of this chain of command is to create like a way to think about this. Claude.md is the user level of command. And then during your actual context, you're doing the guideline level of command. And so guideline is like the further down your context window, the more it's going to listen to, and the further up, the less it's going to listen to. But to be clear, every single completion that runs is doing the entire context window, the entire thing, top to bottom. So every single token, every single time it makes a syllable, it's running the entire completion context from top to bottom. So every syllable that comes out, every token that comes out, affects if it's going to go the right direction or the wrong direction. Every single one, right? So if you have, that's why I'm saying you want to fire your context employee constantly, because the less you do, the more likely you are to confuse your model. Because even if you're like, just think about how confusing it is if someone tells you like a whole bunch of things at once and you can't write them down. And you're just like, they're like, I need you to do this, and 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 I need you to do this. It's like such a distraction that you're probably only going to remember the last thing they told you, right? And you're going to remember, oh, like there was something I should have done earlier, but like, I don't know, whatever. So like clearing the context is your chance to just like get rid of all the guidelines and just start fresh. And you want to do it like all the time. Okay, so it made a memo for us. Let's go look at it. Bolt Foundry integration. It picked it as a, where did it put it? Oh, it put it inside of memos, which is the wrong spot. Oh, this is my other thing. You should never, ever, not never, ever. I'm so hyperbolic. It is not a good idea to move files or edit files or do anything other than view files. You should actually tell Claude Code things. Like in this case, you're like, hey, oh, keyword. There you go. Hey, I think you put that memo in the wrong spot. This is a trade-off. Where do you ultra think we should put it? This is actually where, like, if it uses a thinking model, it's going to figure out, oh, like, actually, I think I put it in the wrong spot. Let's figure out where I should put it. And it's not going to figure it out. It needs to go in plans. Oh, it did. It figured it out. Plans. Sweet. I got it. Good job, Claude. I'm so proud of you. All right, let's have it. I'm going to ask Claude to. Okay, cool. Can you please prefix it with a date so we don't get it lost? I don't know if we even told it how to prefix stuff with dates, but let's go with that. It did a day, which is, I prefer not to do days. I prefer to do year, month, but you'll go see in ours. It's just, I don't even care enough. I'm just like, YOLO. Okay. So we have our memo. We're going to go quickly review this. Yeah, so my docs that are out of date on the website totally just fucked me, because it totally was just like making all this shit based on stuff that's totally wrong. So like, use your own products, kids. Let me go like tell it to fix this. Okay, so there's a bunch of stuff in there about using a Fluent Builder style JS API, and actually we want it to use a markdown API similar to the greater base deck and fast pitch sports greater style decks. Can you please go find those using Max subagents and update the plan relative to this, and try to ignore any confusing docs about writing decks in JavaScript, because you're not supposed to do that here. I'm gonna go look at Bolt Foundry. I'm gonna go fix that. Because damn. All right, so we'll let that go and we'll go back to our presentation. Subagents are the best. Okay, you don't have to be explicit about telling Claude Code like do these things, whatever. You just have to say subagents. And if you say max subagents, then it's like, cool, I'll use as many as I want. They do this mostly because before Claude Code had a plan, when it was just API tokens. You could imagine if you're like max subagents, it's just like $500, like, I don't know, research task or whatever, you know? All right. Technically, we're out of time, so I'm going to try to wrap this up. Oh, we only have 4 slides anyway. Fast pitch illustration, we're already doing that. We are now in the place where it's subagents. This is like one of the bugs. If there's any Replit people watching, we love Replit. They're my homies. The console gets super annoying. If you SSH into a REPL, it's always going to be better. But yeah, it's fine. Whatever. All right. Code. This is my last thing. 2 slides remain, and we're done. Code review is so important. It is literally the difference between vibe coding and agentic coding. So vibe coding is cool because you can just ship things really fast, and like that's awesome, and I love that. But like, let's go check on our vibe coded thing actually. I mean, it was stuck because we like screwed it up, but I mean, it being stuck is a good example. Like it gets stuck because it's asking for stuff from us and whatever, and the vibe code is what it is. Agentic coding is not vibe coding, it's different. And the biggest difference is like you can rely on it. And it's like software that will last for longer than 2 weeks, kind of. I don't have any illustrations for this. I think that's it. That's all I got. Let me see what I can. Yeah, I don't got anything else. Next time when we do this, we're gonna actually do it. I have a fig jam to like do all this shit. It's pretty cool. So we'll do that. If you're in New York City, this is where I guess I'd put on my full screen, Randall. If you're in New York City, I'm going to be running a Claude Code workshop in person in my office, and it will be paid. And I'm also going to be doing Claude Code workshops individually for specific companies. I also do LLM. I know a lot about LLMs. Been doing a lot of LLM stuff. My company's dying. I'm just going to tell you this. This is like my pitch to you. That like my company's dying, and we're going to make it, but we're really broke. So if you could please somehow work with us, I would love you forever. I'll put up a banner that's my email. I mean, I have my freaking phone number on my if you go to my Twitter, I have a WhatsApp phone number you can use. Wait, why am I not switching spaces anymore? Oh, switching more spaces. So x.com/RandallB. Man, I'm really messing this up right now. I need Josh. Come back to me, Josh. Oh, wait, look at this guy. Nope. All right, back to this one. x.com/RandallB is sort of my main place where I ramble the most. Literally has my phone number in here. This is not my actual phone number, in case you're wondering, but it's the phone number that I talk to people on WhatsApp with. Feel free to WhatsApp me if you want to do a workshop in person, if you're interested in coming to our in-person thing. I'm trying to get together a venue, sponsors, like all that stuff. And yeah, it's something that I'm really excited about. Like we've had about 100 people hanging out on a bunch of different platforms. So hopefully you got something out of this. The place to go to understand this stuff and where I'm going to be posting this free one is contexteng.ai. This is our all of our stuff. This is our blog. It's about to do infinite looping. So right now, I'd recommend reading this post about empathy-driven development. As a side note, if you see my byline, I write all my own stuff. I don't have LLMs write my own stuff. It's something I feel weirdly passionate about. So if you see my byline, I wrote every single word. LLMs help me edit. They help me come up with ideas. They don't write. It's just me. Let's see. Bullet Foundry is the product that I'm building that helps people do cool stuff. It's very early, and I don't even know if the waitlist works, to be totally honest. you want to email me, it's just Randall@BullFoundry. Where's my Figma? I'll just put it as gigantic text. Oh, I minimized it. Figma, come back to me. Oh no, Figma's gone. Oh well, whatever. This is my. Oh, let's see. How do I do a gigantic text? Randall@BullFoundry.com. My email. Get in touch with me. And let's see what else. We have Discord for Bull Foundry. That's sort of serving as a context eng de facto thing. We also use a Substack. Yeah. I haven't seen any questions come in, like a surprisingly low number of questions. I'm just going to take a couple seconds, and if you want to talk about stuff, I'm willing to take questions. We can talk about context engineering. We can talk about building, using Claude Code. There's a bunch of stuff we can talk about. Or shoot me a WhatsApp right now if you want. Let's see where my phone is. Any WhatsApps? Kind of cool. Let's see. I guess that's it. I don't know if you got anything else to talk about. Thanks for hanging out. It's really been really good. We're going to do another one. Oh, Luma. That's the last one we'll talk about. Luma. That's our in-person and remote meetup thing. Let's go to Luma. I'll remember to put that in our context eng site. Luma / I think it's context eng AI. So close. Calendars. Oh, does it not even have a cool name? Oh, it's just / context - engineers. So this is where we're posting all of our events. It's events that I'll also be at, in addition to events that we're hosting. So I'm going to be at this Databricks thing tonight. If you want to roll up, it's going to be there, whatever. Yeah, so hopefully this is useful. I really tried hard to make it pretty comprehensive. We're going to do a couple more of these, and I'm going to I'm going to do, I don't know, I'll do a couple of these a week probably, just to sort of get some of these ideas out there. And I guess that's it. Thanks, everyone. It's pretty fun. I can't believe it worked. We'll catch you next time. See ya. Wait, how do I stop? There it goes.